Hi, I'm Purple Streak, and today I'm back to tackle my biggest, grandest, probably too ambitious because I'll lose interest and drop it series to date, reviewing every Spongebob game ever. And today's episode we get to review the first 3D platformer in the series, Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. This game has a habit of splitting fans down the middle, metaphorically not gorily. So what side of the fence will I find myself on? Let's find out. The first game I'm talking about today is another All Games release, the Employee of the Month, released in 2002. It's a point and click adventure featuring the typical Spongebob cast, and once again, whilst it's certainly a budget game that, well, looks like a budget game, it's actually pretty good. It doesn't break any new ground as a point and click game. You talk to someone, they ask for something, you go and get that something and realise you can't get it until you get this other thing first. And I can't really decide if this is a pro or a con, but a lot of the items can be retrieved out of sequence. For example, I bartered for this fish's parasol before having a reason to actually do so. Whilst it doesn't make sense that I'd randomly want to take this person's parasol, it certainly beats having to go travel back to it once I realise it's necessary. So I can't decide whether it's a bad thing or not. However, the dialogue in some instances doesn't change even once you've got the necessary key item, which is a bad point, as SpongeBob will ask Patrick where to find bus tokens even when he has them in his inventory. But the characters along the way are fun, the environments are a nice mix of recognisable locations and new locations that fit the world well, like this WCTV station or this pub that serves cola, the Rusty Anchor. Both of these places would fit right into an episode of the show, and all the locations have a variety of little things to interact with. Like this locker with the nasty paddy in it, and some soft Rule 34 of Sandy.
Oh yeah.
They could have just used a stock photo like they did with Squidward, but instead they chose to pose her model like that. Bit sus. These aren't the same guys that hid SpongeBob porn in the game files, are they? The plot is another pretty typical SpongeBob game plot. Mr. Krabs gets a couple of free tickets to the theme park Neptune's Paradise and gives them to SpongeBob for being Employee of the Year. Then the rest of the events are just SpongeBob and Patrick trying and failing to get there. First by trying to find a bus token, then a storm gets them stuck in rock bottom, and it goes on like that until they eventually get there. Side note, no one in rock bottom speaks with that thing. That's going to knock at least 5 points off their score.
Yes, you are in rock bottom.
The dialogue is alright and interesting in places. Granted, some parts were very skip-worthy, but then others would have nice jokes or interactions slipped in. Like SpongeBob's grandma mistaking him for her favourite son, Patrick.
It's me, your most favourite grandson.
Oh, Patrick, is that you? What a pleasant surprise.
Even the text for the objects made me laugh, like these strategically placed cans.
Oh yeah, Mr. Krabs!
Or this bucket of nothing.
The name says it all.
But if you're looking for humour, then it's definitely the cutscenes you'll want to check out. Once again, All Games knocked it out of the park with these hilarious and bizarre cutscenes. The combination of the jokes and the bizarre 3D animation just gets me every time.
I've had enough of these clowns. Uh-oh, I think we're running out of gas.
Hey, you got gas?
And... yep, out of gas.
Oh no!
This game also did a great job of deriving content from the source material. You can tell the developers are fans of the show with references like Mount Climb Up and Fall Off used to enhance their own original writing. They're also big fans of themselves, as their first game's poster can be interacted with at the TV station.
That was my very first game.
Liar!
This game is very short, with about a 2-hour playtime, although it does have a bit of replay value as there's a videotape hidden in each of the 4 chapters. They're pretty easy to find, but if you're going to the locations you're meant to progress, then they're easy enough to miss on your first playthrough. These tapes include some nice behind the scenes footage of the work that goes into creating the backgrounds for the game, so it's a nice touch to see these. If they're looking for a short, funny SpongeBob game and like the point and click genre, then I'd suggest checking this game out. But if that genre is not for you, then maybe just watch the cutscenes on YouTube, as they make up the length of an actual episode and are worth a watch, if not just for the opening. Next up is Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, but not the one we all know and have mixed feelings about. We're first going to talk about the GBA version that came out a couple months before the console one. You know, the version everyone definitely knew existed. Created by Vicarious Visions, the same guys who made the Lost Spatula on the Game Boy Color, I wasn't expecting too much from this game, and I didn't get much. It's not a terrible game, in fact it's been put together pretty well. The art is all very colourful and pretty, and they've done a good job with the sprite work and all the characters. The menu looks great as well, and the controls feel much better than their last entry as a whole. There's also some nods to the show and character interactions like bothering Squidward at Club Spongebob to get an item that I was pleasantly surprised to see. Also, hell yeah, Jellyfish Jam! Dude, I know what I'm going to be doing for the next hour. This game is a platformer with the core mechanic being your ability to use different bubble soap for different abilities. You can use regular bubbles to turn jellyfish into platforms, float ones will let you ride them upwards, bounce ones will let you bounce to high places. Not sure why they needed 2 different bubbles to get high, but hey, who doesn't like getting high? And strong bubbles break down walls and kill enemies. You also have the ability to check your tyre pressure, which will slow your descent to reach further with jumps. I found the sections where using the normal platforming bubble soap to be the most irritating, as stopping a jellyfish at the right point, stopping a different jellyfish at the right point, then jumping between the two before they pop was infuriating at times. But the rest wasn't bad, it's just pretty basic platformer stuff. So the story of the game is what you'd expect from a SpongeBob game. You start with chasing Gary, who's run away from his abusive carer for like the 5th time now.
Please come back, Gary!
He then finds a treasure chest containing the Flying Dutchman. SpongeBob mistakes him for a genie, because I guess they forgot they were writing dialogue for SpongeBob and not Patrick,
Just like a genie!
and insists on getting a wish granted. Dutchie eventually relents and says yes, but only if he finds a Dutchman's treasure for him. The levels then consist of searching through each location to find 3 keys that'll open up the Dutchman's chest to get his treasure. Personally, I didn't like this. It works well when you find all the keys as you travel through the level as the developers intended you to, but if you take the progression path rather than the path with a key, you'll end up travelling through the entire level, reaching the chest and having to backtrack the whole level to find it. Combine that with the fact that this game is freaking hard at times, I legit started save state abusing just to do some of it. So imagine doing an annoyingly hard section, realising you've missed the key and having to redo it. Also, the majority of let's plays of this thing are filled with commenters having Vietnam flashbacks to the rage that was induced from this game, and I can see why. When I think of SpongeBob games, I think of chill games to play on a lazy afternoon, so maybe that's why I don't enjoy this. But if you're looking for a challenge, maybe this game's for you? So, if you don't want the ending of this game spoiled, I'd skip ahead to this timestamp on screen, or the timestamp in the description for the next game, as there's no way I can miss talking about the ending, because I love it. It's not worth suffering through the game to see it, but thanks to the miracle of long plays on YouTube, we can see the ending with no effort at all. My YouTube career is saved! So you defeat the Flying Dutchman and he grants you a wish, which you get to choose and select from a list. These give you some great results like I wish I had our own rock band, which shows him rocking out in a band, and some not so great ones where he wishes for new haircuts and you get stock SpongeBob renders with hair just drawn on top. Come on, the hair's not even on a head. I'm sure a haircut's what all these guys wanted. Not that Squidward's overly bothered. Not only is he looking the wrong way, he doesn't even look like he belongs to this game with his character sprites looking more like a compressed 3D render than 2D art. Same goes with Patrick actually, with their lack of outlines it looks like they weren't even made for this game. Anyways, there's 2 meta wishes, one being him wishing to be a star in his own TV show and it just shows the SpongeBob logo, and then the last one is him wishing to be in a game, and lo and behold it shows a group character screenshot from their last game, The Lost Bachelor, then rolls credits. You can't tell me that's not a great ending for an otherwise frustrating game. Right, let's get into the console version now. If you skipped to this part in the video because you have no nostalgic connection to the other games and just wanted to see this one, then hi, I'm Purple Streak. Anyway, this game gets mixed reviews, both at the time it was released and now from other YouTube reviewers like myself. Check out Badman Reviews by the way if you want a more thorough and actually good review of this game. It's SpongeBob's first 3D platformer and honestly, replaying it for this video, I somewhat enjoyed my time with it. It's definitely not as good as some of the SpongeBob games to come, but it holds its own at times. The models all look pretty good, at least for the most part. I even got Burger Flipping Clancy Brown to voice in this.
Between you and me and this here cart, there's no stopping us now!
No imitation crowds for this game. I also like how this game plays out. There's an overarching goal of stopping the Flying Dutchman, but really this plays out as if it's just an episode of SpongeBob. You deliver Krabby Patties, Karate Chop Sandy, and
See Squid get a tan.
it's very wholesome and what I want from a SpongeBob game honestly. That and the humour is pretty good at times.
How will I ever find Mr. Krabs in such a huge place where the streets never end and the buildings just go on and on and on?
Yoo-hoo! SpongeBob, over here!
It's not perfect though, the controls are fine when it comes to jumping and flapping, but the attacks feel very underwhelming and I found myself actively avoiding them. Although, if I push my rose-tinted glasses further onto my face, maybe the game's controls are intentionally clunky and unusable so you avoid fighting and violence altogether, considering that's in line with Spongebob's pacifist character. Cause screw it, if Silent Hill can use that excuse and say that the combat is intentionally clunky to give you a sense of helplessness, then so can Spongebob, damn it! Intentionally clunky controls my ass. There's not much to break up the game unfortunately, as there's no boss fights to be had until the final fight against the Dutchman. Although, judging by how bad this fight is, maybe that's not a bad thing. This game also has a lot of tedious drawn out moments. For example, this section in Sandy's Tree Dome had a lot of small tasks to do, but not many of them I'd really classify as fun. And then this was immediately followed up by a segment where you have to catch 100 freaking jellyfish to progress. I wouldn't mind if this was an optional challenge, but this is necessary to get the Reef Blower costume, so you can't skip it. And whilst it's not outright boring, it's still fun to explore jellyfish fields and find them, but having to collect 100 legit made me turn off the game at only 16 jellyfish. And I guess that's my cue to segue into the costumes. You've got a regular Spongebob, a jellyfishing Spongebob with a net to catch jellyfish, a Mermaid Man Spongebob to throw water balls, and the Reef Blower one. These can be changed into using these tents and add a decent element of gameplay, but each one has its own freaking theme music. So forget the level music, let's hope you like hearing the costume music on loop. Especially the jellyfishing one, as you'll end up using this costume more often than not. It's also quite a short game. I remember completing this game within 2 days as a child, and with its 5-hour completion time on howlongtobeat.com, it sits at just over half the time of Battle for Bikini Bottom. Overall, this isn't a bad game, and has its fun moments, but I can see why this isn't remembered as fondly as other Spongebob games. So, there's another 3 games off the checklist. I hope you enjoyed it. As for my next video, well, thanks to Double Tails, I'll actually be able to review the Leapster Spongebob game. And no joke, this game reveals the Spongebob secret recipe, so you won't want to miss this grown-ass man review a game meant for toddlers. Special thanks to my patrons and channel members Zill, Joseph the Electrician, Sanch Zed, Double Tails, Goldheaker 2000 and Korona Lorona. I hope that name doesn't get me demonetized. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment and subscribe as there'll definitely be more Spongebob videos, and if you want to support the channel further, I also have a Patreon. So yeah, see you in the next video. Bye!